Hello, financial planner Katlego Mei joining us. Janu-Worries, we're in November. I'm really asking you about Janu-Worries. That just shows that some people aren't planning their finances very well. We get this wrong year after year, don't we?
Yeah, that's correct, Gareth. And to avoid the Janu-Worries, I think it's important to take a long-term view on this 13th check or bonus, if you're, like you say, fortunate enough to get one. By long-term view, I mean think carefully about how it affects your finances going forward. So a great way of spending that bonus would be to, first of all, I think it's important to have an emergency fund. So an emergency fund is some money that you stash away in case you need to access some funds. Typically we say have about 3 to 6 months worth of your monthly expenses saved in there. In case something happens along the line, then you know you've got a lifeline. That way there's no January because you've got that emergency fund stashed there.
If someone comes to Katlego Mei from Galileo Capital and says, look, with all the best intentions in the world, I want to put this money away, I'm going to pay school fees, I'm going to put some into my house bond, I'm going to put some into my car, and I'm going to try and save the rest. They just don't have the discipline to actually do it. And that seems to be the real problem. People understand, seemingly I think anyway, is that they want to do the good thing, but then you get a WhatsApp or an SMS from your bank and there's a nice long, looks like a telephone number with your salary, and it goes out almost as quickly as it comes in.
Yeah, I think discipline is key. So that's the main thing, and that's why I say take a long-term view. Of course, there's nothing wrong with rewarding yourself. Take a portion of that and spend it towards your December festivities and so on. But I think it's important to put a cap on that and decide, okay,
give me a cap. Someone's watching at home right now, they're going, okay, Katlego, this is great. Give me a percentage of my bonus that you're going to tell me I must put away. Is it 10%, 15%, 20%? What's a nice gift for you at the end of the year? Did you say, all right, I'm going to keep this for myself and the rest I'm going to reinvest or pay off debt? What's your percentage?
Rule of thumb?
Rule of thumb.
I'd say a third.
A third?
Yeah.
Of your bonus?
Of your bonus. All right. Spoil yourself, and the rest allocated to reducing your debt. But I think it's also important when it comes to debt as to how you handle that, because it's pointless you pay off your credit card now, but in January you're back at square one. So that's why I say that emergency fund is also important to avoid you having to go rely on a credit card or overdraft or whatever it is come January.
And so if someone is now beginning to look at how they're going to manage their finances for the next year, if we're going to assume the average person who's going to get a 13th check probably has a car, probably has a house, if they were to take your advice, and it's free financial advice here on Today, by the way, so you don't have to ask Katlego for an invoice, where do you put your money? If you're going to take a third of it to spoil yourself, do you put the rest of it into your house? Do you put it into your car? What's the debt you want to knock off first? Is it credit card debt? But it's bad debt. You know, credit card debt's very bad. Car, you could argue, is potentially an asset, and obviously a house is potentially an asset. But of the three debts that you suggest people should knock off if they got some money, what is that debt they should clean out? I
would target the one with the highest interest first, which is generally your short-term debts, credit cards, personal loans, and so on. From there, I'd be very careful to allocate it towards the car, because the problem with paying off your car quickly is you get the temptation to get a new one, and a big one, a flashier one. So
it's always a new one.
Yeah, so I'd think maybe put in your bond. It's great if you have an excess bond, because then you can always have access to the money as and when you need it. So I'd go credit card and short-term debt first, bond, and then do the car.
I did say when we started talking a moment ago, Katlego, that every year we do these interviews about how people can save, and people don't tend to listen. I spoke to one financial planner many years ago now who was saying, forget your bonus is there. As far as they're concerned, as far as you should be concerned, December is a regular pay month. You take whatever the extra money is that's come in and move it away. Jump on your online app banking or whatever you use and forget the money's there. Go put it away in a 30-day notice account. Does something like that work? Just pretend it's not there. Just move it away.
It's very difficult, because I think we're human beings, and the behavioral aspect is quite difficult to deal with and manage. So to forget about it, it's not as easy as you can say.
And here's the problem, isn't it? Black Friday is coming up. You can't go onto social media, you can't turn on the TV, you can't drive down the road without seeing the new latest TV. Jeffrey Stevens, our sports anchor, I know is a big golfer, No doubts. His wife doesn't know, by the way, in case she's watching. He's got to go buy new golf shoes because of Black Friday.
Yeah.
It's just so, because the marketers get us,
Yeah.
don't they? And this is where the discipline falls over.
Yeah, and I think, so there's nothing wrong with doing Black Friday, but do it at a budget. Do it at what you know you can afford. Don't incur unnecessary credit just for Black Friday. So if you have some money, great, that you've saved up for Black Friday, use it, but don't go overboard. Don't go into credit.
Apart from the financial planning side, I'm going to say goodbye in a moment. Apart from the financial planning side, is it really responsible? I know legally the financial service providers can do it, so I'm not asking about the legalities.
Okay.
But do you think it's unfair that they start targeting people around Christmas and Black Fridays? We know why they're doing it,
Yeah.
but just in the last 2 or 3 days, I've been offered loans from banks I didn't even realize existed. Is it unfair of them to be targeting people who are so cash-strapped? Because it is so tempting. Is it, in an ideal world for you, would that be still allowed? Or does it come back to the consumer and discipline?
I think it comes back to ourselves as consumers.
Okay.
I think we need to exercise self-discipline, because remember, a business is there to make profits.
Yeah.
And we are sometimes shareholders in those businesses. We put money away for our retirement and so on in form of unit trust and buy shares indirectly in those businesses. So we want them to make profits. If they don't make profits, you're gonna fight.
I was hoping you're going to say, yes, I can blame them for sending me messages to take out loans. You're not making me feel any better. Katlego Mei, thank you very much for coming to speak to us here on today. Katlego Mei from Galileo Capital. Yes, you're going to get a bonus, and yes, it's going to vanish as quickly as you get it, but at least try and put it somewhere.